Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos greets His Excellency President Vladimir Putin of Russia on his re-elected as president for a new presidential term. Petroleum Development Oman announces that volume of gas exploration reaches more than 4 trillion cubic feet in North Mabruk concession zone. The Ministry of Transport and Communication stresses its operation readiness of the new passenger terminal at Muscat International Airport. And the final camel races at the conclusion of the festival for His Majesty's Cup started at the Royal Camel Racetrack in the Wilaya of Barka. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Baji Qaid al-Sibsi of Tunisia on his country's independence anniversary. Meanwhile, His Majesty the Sultan sent a similar cable to His Excellency President Vladimir Putin of the Federal Republic of Russia on him being re-elected as president for a new presidential term. The Petroleum Development Oman announced that the volume of gas exploration reached more than 4 trillion cubic feet and condensates reached 112 million barrels in the north of the concession zone at Mabruk field. This came during the annual press conference of the Ministry of Oil and Gas that reviewed the accomplished and ongoing projects implemented in the sector. More details in the following report by Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi.
Petroleum Development Oman has confirmed a significant gas find with estimated recoverable reserves of more than 4 trillion cubic feet and 112 million barrels of condensate in the northern part of its concession area. The announcement came at the annual Ministry of Oil and Gas media briefing, which shed light on a number of the oil and gas projects that were completed last year and those currently underway.
It was a really good year. We had 3 exploration and 4 appraisal wells in a new gas discovery called Mabruk Northeast. It's about 35 kilometers northwest of the Cyril field. It's a very large structure. Conservative estimated recoverable reserves at the moment around 4.4 trillion cubic feet, more than 110 million barrels of condensate. And the good news is that already the first well is connected and on stream, so we're testing it with good production rates. The second well will be connected very soon. So, you know, a wonderful discovery, a new economic boost for Oman, opportunity to expand gas supplies over the longer term. So a wonderful discovery.
Sohar Refinery Improvement Project was completed in 2017 at a cost of nearly $2.7 billion, through which refining rates rose by 70% from 116,000 barrels per day to 198,000 barrels per day. Al Jifnain Fuel Storage Project has been completed in 2017 with a cost over $300 million. The first fuel shipment was loaded on October 12, 2017. More than 10,000 trucks were loaded by the end of December 2017, with a reduction of 70% of trucks movement in Muscat. Khazan Gas Field Project is built at an estimated total project cost of $16 billion. The first phase of the project was successfully completed in September 2017, with a capacity of 1 billion cubic feet per day by the end of 2017, and the second phase will add another 500 million cubic feet by 2020. Another project that is currently underway is Liwa Plastics Industrial Complex. Nearly 50% of this project is completed by the end of 2017, and the full project is planned to be completed in the second quarter of 2020 at a cost of $6.4 billion. The Rabab Harwil Integrated Project is the largest capital project in the Sultanate, worth $4.7 billion. The engineering and procurement phase of the project has been completed, and the construction is underway. It is projected to start producing in June 2019. The Ibal Khuf project involves comprehensive development of Khuf and Sider sour oil and gas reservoirs. It is the second largest project in terms of area and technically complex ventures in the Sultanate. The engineering and procurement phase of the project is completed and production is planned in February 2021 with a cost of $2.9 billion. Salalah liquefied petroleum gas project is under construction and is scheduled for completion in the first quarter of 2020 with a capital cost of around $826 million. The estimated revenue will be around $200 million per annum from selling of 300,000 tons of liquefied petroleum gas and condensate annually. For the Sultanate of Oman Television English News, Saleh Mukhalfan al-Rahbi, Muscat.
The Ministry of Transport and Communications has completed its preparations with its strategic partners to start the commercial operation of the new passenger terminal at Muscat International Airport, scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday. The ministry said that flight of Oman Air to Zurich is the last flight departing from the current Muscat International Airport at 2:15 p.m. local time, while the first operational flight of the new passenger terminal at Muscat International Airport will be the flight of Oman Air and coming from the Iraqi city of Najaf at 5:30 p.m. local time. The ministry said that the new Muscat International Airport was built according to the classification of the ideal airports approved by the International Air Transport Association, IATA. The new Muscat International Airport will start its operation tomorrow as it's considered one of the vital and huge projects. The airport accommodates 20 million passengers annually, as the number is expected to increase in the upcoming stages to 56 million. The passengers terminal is built on an area of 580,000 square meters, and it includes all the necessary services besides a hotel with 90 rooms. It is worth mentioning that the new airport is a focal point of communication with the world and an important step for the national economy in light of the growth witnessed by the civil aviation sector and other sectors. The final festival of His Majesty the Sultan's Camel Racing Cup started on the Royal Camel Racetrack in the Wilaya of Barka, and it continues for 4 days. The participating camels competed at a distance of 4 kilometers in 15 rounds to win the awards of the race, which is considered an old traditional sport in Oman. Still to come in our news bulletin. A forum in Sultan Qaboos University highlights 357 years of Omani-British relations through some photos of political figures and old manuscripts.
تغطية خاصة مباشرة. مطار مسقط الدولي. بدء التشغيل التجاري الثلاثاء 20 من مارس 2018 الساعة 4 عصرا على القناة العامة وقناة عمان مباشر.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. Syrian state-run TV broadcast images of President Bashar al-Assad visiting troops on the front line in the newly captured areas of eastern Ghouta, near the capital Damascus. Earlier, state media said Syrian troops had entered Saqba, a town in a southern pocket of eastern Ghouta. It was the latest town to be captured by the Syrian troops and allied militia in a swift advance over the last few days. The Syrian government is now in control of over 80% of the area, which has been a rebel stronghold since 2012. Spanish aid group said today Italy has seized one of its migrant rescue boats because it refused to cave in to death threats by the Libya Coast Guard and hand over the migrants. Proactiva Open Arms confirmed reports that the rescue vessel Open Arms was sequestered yesterday in the Sicilian port of Pozzallo, and that Italian authorities are investigating the group for suspected criminal association and aiding illegal immigration. The investigation stems from its refusal on Thursday to hand over to Libya's Coast Guard 280 migrants it had just saved in international waters north of Libya. Final Russian election results showed Vladimir Putin overwhelmingly won a fourth presidential term with 76.67% of the vote, his highest score ever. The Central Election Commission said today that communist Pavel Gordinin came in a distant second with 11.78%. Third was ultra-nationalist Vladimir Zhirinovsky with 5.66%. The only candidate to openly criticize Putin during the campaign, Liberal Star TV Ksenia Skobak, won just 1.68%. Four other candidates also ran in Sunday's vote. Putin's most serious rival opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, was barred from the race. The Electoral Commission said that official turnout was 67%, but observers reported widespread ballot stuffing and unprecedented pressure on Russians to vote. In the previous presidential election in 2012, Putin pulled 63.6% of the vote. The so-called mini beast from the east hit the UK over the weekend with another round of snow blanketing parts of the country. Authorities advised people to enjoy the snow day and avoid unnecessary travel. Today, parts of southwest England saw the biggest freeze with up to 30 centimeters of snow compared with 10 centimeters for the rest of Britain. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled, roads closed and sports events called off. Now back to some more local news. During the press conference, Petroleum Development Oman also announced achieving a record in investment in domestic companies throughout contracts worth around $5.2 billion. More details in the following report, also by Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi.
The Sultanate's total oil and condensate reserves stood at 4,740 million barrels at the end of 2017, down by 376 million barrels in 2016, despite adding 355 million barrels of oil and condensate from exploration activities and re-evaluation of some producing fields. This decline is attributed to the transfer of around 323 million barrels of reserves into recoverable quantities with prices recovery. On the other hand, gas reserves of 4.97 trillion cubic feet were added, and thus the total gas reserves stood at 24.96 trillion cubic feet by the end of 2017, up by around 3.81 trillion cubic feet compared to 2016. The major contributors for this year's additions is attributed to Khazan and Ghazir fields.
The Solar into Schools project was a project we devised in 2015 as our gift to the nation, and we've been running the program ever since. The purpose of the project is twofold, essentially. The first element is to support, to provide a base for solar SMEs in the country, Omani solar SMEs, and the second is around raising awareness amongst school kids about energy transition, the future of energy, entrepreneurship and innovation.
The oil and gas total expenditure amounted to $11.4 billion against 11.3 in 2016, of which around 72% was allocated to capital expenditure in the upstream sector, such as drilling and facilities, and 28% on operating expenses. The total oil sector expenditure was around $7.9 billion against $7.9 billion in the previous year, whereas the total gas sector expenditure was $3.5 billion against $3.4 billion in the previous year. The average daily production for crude oil and condensate was at 972,000 barrels against 1.4 million barrels in 2016, demonstrating the Sultanate compliance with OPEC agreement to cut production in order to boost global oil prices. While the daily gas production, in addition to quantities imported from Dolphin, were about 112 million cubic meters. In 2017, the Ministry of Oil and Gas signed 4 petroleum agreements. The exploration program cost is expected to be around $67 million during the first phase of agreements for the seismic surveys and exploratory wells. In addition, 4 blocks have been opened for tendering in the last quarter of 2017, and the ministry is currently in the process of analyzing the tenders submitted by the local and international companies. For the Sultanate of Oman Television English News, Saleh Mukhalfan al-Rahbi, Muscat.
Developing mechanisms of practices by State Council for its legislative and monitoring specializations and achieving integration between the Council and the government in which served the Comprehensive March topped the discussions of the State Council office on its meeting today. The meeting also discussed methodology adopted for preparing suggestions by permanent committees in the Council and conditions of providing suggestions to the General Session, in addition to mechanism of hosting officials from government and private bodies. The meeting was chaired by His Excellency Yahya bin Mahfoud al-Mandari, Chairman of the State Council. It is worth mentioning that the State Council will hold its regular 5th and 6th sessions tomorrow and after tomorrow for the annual 3rd term of the 6th period and will discuss the law of commercial companies. The Shura Council concluded discussions of the statement of His Excellency Sheikh Minister of Social Development during the 14th regular session for the 3rd annual session of the 8th term. During the final session, His Excellency Minister of Social Development said that the Ministry has no objection for considering or reconsidering in payments in disasters which declined to 50%, stressing also that communication and cooperation with a number of institutes for providing in-job training for disabled people. His Excellency the Minister also said that indicators of women empowerment in the Sultanate are good, stressing that the percentage of working women in government sectors reached around 50% and 24% in the private sector. The session was chaired by His Excellency Khalid bin Hilal al-Ma'wali, Chairman of the Shura Council. Cooperation among specialists at Gulf Cooperation Council countries to limit the effects of earthquakes was the center of discussion at the 10th Earthquake Forum. As the Sultanate is situated on active seismic zones such as Sea of Oman, earthquake monitoring centers announce from time to time about some tangible tremors recorded in the Sultanate. Registered statistics showed that 51 tangible quakes had been recorded since 2001. The GCC countries have used the technology to know the risks many caused by earthquakes through using electronic applications. The earthquake activities are monitored by 20 monitoring stations as the National Center for Early Warning monitors any indications of tsunamis along the Omani coastline. 357 years of Omani-British relations is the title of the 4th forum organized by Society of History and Archaeology in cooperation with the College of Economics and Political Sciences in Sultan Qaboos University. This deep-rooted relation started in 1613 with the arrival of the first British ship to Oman. An exhibition was held to highlight aspects of the political and economic cooperation between the Sultanate and the United Kingdom. It also showcased features of life, a number of photographs of political figures in that time, some old manuscripts and copies of commercial movement records between the two countries in the Indian Ocean. An agreement for expanding the water network in the Special Economic Zone in Ad-Duqm was signed by Special Economic Zone Authority at Duqm CZAD. This came within its plan to complete infrastructure projects in the area and prepare them to attract various investments. The project, which cost around 2.3 million Omani riyals, aimed to deliver potable water for a number of sites and investment projects under construction, in addition to future projects of CZAD. The Children's Public Library held a charity dinner party at Royal Opera House, Muscat, under the auspices of His Excellency Mohammed bin Zubair bin Ali, advisor to His Majesty the Sultan for Planning Affairs. The event was supported by Oman Oil Company with the aim to provide the necessary resources for the library's future projects, in addition to its vision to spread knowledge and education. The event program included an introduction about the library and its services, besides acquainting the participants to its needs, as it's considered one of the biggest children's libraries in the Sultanate. Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate, with chances of low clouds and fog late at night and early morning over the governorates of South Sharqiya and Wusta. Winds will be north to northwesterly, light to moderate, while seas will be moderate to rough, with a maximum wave height of 2.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos greets His Excellency President Vladimir Putin of Russia on him being re-elected a new president of the country. Petroleum Development Oman announces that volume of gas exploration reaches more than 4 trillion cubic feet in North Mabruk concession zone. The Ministry of Transport and Communication stresses its operation readiness of the new passenger terminal at Muscat International Airport. And the final camel races at the conclusion of Festival for His Majesty's Cup started at the Royal Camel Racetrack in the Wilaya of Barkat. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.